2000 was a great year for me and for the Texas Association of REALTORS. When I try to think about what were the most important issues that year, while there were a number of those, the one that stands out in my mind was the implementation of the ZIP form program. ZIP form has been such a great advantage to the members of the Texas Association of REALTORS. And the year that we actually put that into use, the big issue was that it entailed a fairly sizable dues increase, and if my memory serves me correctly, it may be the second largest in the time I've been with TAR, maybe the history of TAR in any one year. But we had a $10 dues increase to pay for every member of the Texas Association of REALTORS to have access to the ZIP form program so that they could do computerized contracts. And it's kind of funny now because we're so accustomed to having things stored on the internet and on a server, but at that time even the internet was kind of new information for us. And there was a lot of controversy over the concept of realtors' contracts being stored on a server somewhere that maybe someone else could look at. And so it wasn't an easy vote, but we did vote to pass the dues increase and to offer ZIP form as a member service for all Texas realtors, and I think today, in retrospect, it was a great decision. I don't remember where I actually first heard the quote, "We don't get better by chance, we get better by change." But it seemed that in 2000 there were so many changes going on in our industry that it was very appropriate. And as I traveled the state to various regional meetings, one of my responsibilities was speaking about issues for the Texas Association of REALTORS, and many times I would start my presentation with that quote, "We don't get better by chance, we get better by change." And it was an effort to help our members feel a little more comfortable with all of the changes. Technology certainly is one of the largest, but we had changes going on with our governance structure that are still in place today and have proved to be successful, as well as many others. The agency task force was primarily charged with trying to decide how we should be practicing agency. At the time that our agency law was written, buyer agency was a very new concept. And I know that someone could listen to this presentation and laugh at the idea that it was a foreign thought to represent a buyer and practice buyer agency, but actually that was the climate of the time. We had a joint convention with the Louisiana Realtors for 2000, and so we got a chance to really get acquainted with some of the ways they practiced their business, and actually thoroughly enjoyed hearing the way they framed their agency law. One of the members of the Louisiana Realtors Association said, "Well, we've made it really simple. If you're working with a buyer, you represent the buyer. If you're working with a seller, you represent the seller. Just love the one you're with." When the relocation companies first got involved in the real estate industry, there were very reasonable referral fees requested. I believe they were around 15% of the side of the transaction that was referred. And as time went on, there seemed to be a creeping increase, and if you look at where we are today, in many cases they're asking 37.5%, and in some cases even as much as 40% of the commission. And that's fairly painful, but it's especially painful if it's expected or requested or required from a realtor when you are working with a transferee that you had sold the property to, or someone that you already have their house listed, or that you've already written a contract for in a purchase situation. It's been a long-term controversial issue. It's not gone. It is greatly improved, and partly from some of the activities that our task force undertook in 2000. It was the beginning of the process, and certainly Texas wasn't the only state that was addressing it. The Employee Relocation Council actually put together an organization called the Coalition, and if in fact today there's an after-the-fact referral fee that's required or requested, then there's a body that you can appeal that decision to. And in most cases I've found if a relocation company genuinely is requesting or requiring an after-the-fact referral, just mentioning ERC and the Coalition is enough for them to say, "Oh, we didn't know," And we've had a number of cases where the fee would have been required, that because of our knowledge of that system and organization, they have decided that that was legitimately our client and that there's no fee owed. Some of my experiences with TREPAC are some of my best times with the Texas Association of REALTORS. One particular issue that, actually the issue had been dealt with prior to my year as chairman, was the homestead. And one of the things that I remember that was so exciting was a quote that I actually read in the Wall Street Journal, and it said on the issue of homestead, it was giving some background on the issue, and it said, "The powerful Texas Association of REALTORS has stepped up to the plate," and it gave some information about what TAR was doing. And I thought, wow, powerful Texas Association of REALTORS, how good is that for it to be in the Wall Street Journal? And a part of the background and the reason for that statement by an entity like that was the number of dollars that we'd been able to raise, and we were very proud that we did cross that threshold of $1 million. They were great years, and again, it's a foundation that we've continued to build on, and it's just gotten better and better.